What is up, guys, and welcome back to Universal Gamer Reviews. And you know something? I love the Nintendo Switch. But a lot of the time, I am broke as hell. So I often find myself browsing the deals section of the eShop looking for some nice cheap games, and sometimes the eShop just has new games that are released at a fairly cheap price. So I thought it'd be fun to round up a bunch of games that I found for the Nintendo Switch that are for $5 or less. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell because we're going to keep these videos coming. This is 5 Nintendo Switch games for $5 or less. Let's go! The first game I want to bring up for the Nintendo Switch that is incredibly cheap and a damn good time is Night Terrors. Night Terrors is an endless runner that was clearly inspired by Ghosts and Goblins with its art style and its enemies. Except for the aliens in the game. That's odd. But not only is it a combination of endless runners and difficult games like Ghosts and Goblins, but it's also inspired, oddly enough, by Flappy Bird. They even have a little hint at that in the description of the game. So what you're going to be doing for this game is what you do in any endless runner. You just continuously go on with no end in sight for this game, dodging enemies, slashing them to death, mashing the Y button or one of the triggers to fly above enemies, and it's really intense because they actually have those Flappy Bird style pillars that you have to dodge and not get hit. Now the difference here is you actually have a few health points before your character dies, so you get 3 hits and then you're done. I find the game incredibly exhilarating. I just cannot stop playing this thing. It emphasizes the one more playthrough mentality with its steady pace and difficulty, fast-paced gameplay. And I don't know, there's just something about the art style that I find very appealing. It looks so retro, it's cool. The game not only has this one endless runner mode, there are 5 modes to unlock. There's one that is a parody of R-Type called K-Type. There's a endless flying mode where you have to constantly mash the flying button because there are spikes all over the floor. There's your classic mode that endless runs you through the entire field. And you can jump, slash at enemies, but if you miss 3 enemies, then you basically have to start over, or if you die, you start over. And there's 2 other modes of that. I'm not going to spoil what they are. Those 3 modes right there, that's enough value though that this game is worth it. Even if they didn't have those modes and it was just this one game mode, I still would say it's worth it because it's a lot of fun. And on top of the standard combat, you also have a bunch of power-ups you can use. Like there's an overarching axe that's like in Castlevania. There's a 3-knife throw that is also like in Castlevania, though I'm sure it was in Ghosts and Goblins as well. There's also a boomerang weapon you can throw that'll go through multiple enemies and then come back to you. And there are multiple power-ups to give you more health points, regen your health, and there's an ultimate move that I've seen that can give you all your power-ups at once, so you can just mash the attack button and never get hit. For $3, there's no reason why you shouldn't check out this game, so I highly recommend Night Terrors. Let me ask you something. Do you like retro-style platformers? Well, so do I, with The Adventures of Elena Temple coming in as my next pick. Adventures of Elena Temple is a game that I have reviewed on this channel before, but I think I should emphasize that it's a very cheap and fun game. You play as the titular character, Elena Temple, as you run through these dungeons and mazes, capturing coins, killing enemies, solving little puzzles, and really the emphasis on this game is the platforming. It is difficult. It is very, very precise, and one wrong move could kill your character instantly, but fortunately the developer was very lenient with the checkpoints. I believe in our interview that I had with him, he told me that he called it dynamic checkpoints, so that the game would be more fair, but also difficult. The game has a Metroidvania style map where you can run through each individual area and platform your way, there's no new items that you really can get to make it easier. It's just that the map is interconnected all over the place and there's no real levels throughout the game. Each new room you go into is essentially the challenge of the day. There are small amounts of puzzle solving that you need to do. There's no real bosses in the game, but the game doesn't need it. And I can tell you, I had a damn good time going from beginning to end. And the best part about this game, the coolest thing this game has going for it, is the fact that you can switch the art style of the game. It goes from multiple genres, multiple types of games like Game Boy Color or Commodore 64, Game Boy, regular Game Boy, and it's all presented on this little cheesy TV with these stock backgrounds. And they've also updated the game where you can zoom in and out and stuff like that. So the game has gotten some small improvements over time. When I finished my review for the game, I gave it a 7 out of 10, saying it was absolutely solid and worth playing, and I stand by that review. It's fun, it's cheap, it's great, it's the adventures of Elena Temple. I wanted to get a fighting game in this list somewhere, but I couldn't find any really cheap fighting games until recently. One Strike is a fantastic game that you're going to want to be playing again and again, that was heavily inspired by games like Bushido Blade. If you've never played Bushido Blade, essentially what the main gimmick of that game is that you could kill an opponent in one hit. You can also paralyze limbs or paralyze the entire body, and the opponent may not die. But mostly the gimmick is people die in one hit. Well, this game emphasizes that there is no paralyzing of limbs. You cannot jump over your enemy. You can't do any of that. It is a 2D fighting arena, and you just left and right. You can parry, and one hit kills the opponent. So it's all about timing your attacks. I've played this game both by myself and with friends, and we have had a ton of fun going through this game. I have played dozens and dozens of matches. Now, but when I first bought the game, it was originally being pulled from the eShop because apparently some of the music they used was copyrighted, but they brought the game back and even added a brand new character to play as, which is awesome. I love that. The game has a super simplistic pixel art style, which is pretty cool, but I gotta say, if they updated the game to have the art style be like the characters' official art, man, oh man, that would be awesome. What we have here is a simple, fun fighting game that I think anybody can enjoy. Even if you're not big into fighting games, you don't have to be with this one. And I believe the price was just right, coming in at $3.99. For that, you get the single-player arcade, and I believe there was a tournament mode. It's a good time to be had by all. Let's do something a little more interesting. Let's talk about a music game. Frederick Resurrection of Music. Now I know what you're thinking, why would I even recommend this game? Well, I honestly wasn't going to until I started playing it. It doesn't look like it's going to be a lot of fun, but when you get into it, it is. What this game is basically Guitar Hero with 8 buttons. It has a super simplistic story where Frederick travels around the world battling the music masters of that area. And you just go through one fight with them, play a song, and then you move on to the next area of the map. But the story is really not the thing here. What I did enjoy about the game is it has good music. And that's the real reason I'm recommending that you buy Frederick. The game is somewhat challenging, mapping the keys on the piano to all the buttons on your controller. Now, it's not like an accurate piano as far as I know. They just set it up so anybody could play it. And I will admit there were parts of this game that are very challenging. I mean, I really had to keep up the pace and know what I was doing, because in the beginning of the game, I was getting my ass handed to me by the AI. Until eventually, after a few rounds, I got the hang of it, finally started playing well, and I was having a blast listening to this cool soundtrack. I loved it. And the game even recommends that you use headphones while playing the game, so I did, and man oh man, I did not regret it. I believe there are 2 sequels to Frederick on the eShop as well, and if you buy this game, you get a major discount on the other games that this publisher has made, so if you like this one, you could get the other 2 Frederick games for a discounted price. And honestly, at $2.99, it's an impulse buy. Just give it a try. I guarantee you, you'll have some fun. And remember, get them headphones ready. The last game I wanted to introduce was a horror game for the Nintendo Switch. Now, surprisingly, looking through my list, there are a lot of great horror games that are available for the Nintendo Switch, but none that were really cheap enough to make it to this list, with the exception of 2, and we're going to talk about one right now. I wanted to pick the most impressive looking one that seemed like it was a good price for what it was, so I picked Fantaruk. Fantaruk is a 3D first-person horror game in the vein of Outlast and Amnesia, where you're wandering around a facility in the first person with no real emphasis on combat. I don't even see any way for you to defend yourself against this monster that is roaming the facility, and if he catches you, you're pretty much dead. You have to roam in the facility, hiding through vents and crouching behind boxes, looking for files and audio logs to determine what's going on in the story, and you have to solve some simplistic puzzles, get power cells and stuff like that to pull switches. Normally I see games like these on Steam and they go for $10 to $15, but Fantaruk is actually $5. Now I have heard that when it was originally on Steam it was at a much higher price, and they might have lowered it for the Nintendo Switch release. Though when I did look back on the Steam page, it did say it was $5, so maybe it didn't lower the price, maybe it did, I'm not 100% on that. Now I'm not sure if this is true, but it does look like it. I've seen some games that use similar assets to this, so they could have used an asset pack for some of these games. That's not necessarily a negative, it's just something that I noticed about the game. But I will say this, and one thing that is absolutely positive and the reason you should check this out is the game did actually scare me at some points. I did find the game actually very tense to go through. Trying to hide and run from this monster while making my way to the next puzzle or the next audio log, it was very well done. The game is short. You'll beat the game in about 2 hours if you know what you're doing, maybe 2.5 hours in your first run, and then after that you could probably blow through the game in 90 minutes or less. But for $5, that is a good price. That's a good horror game worth checking out at the price it's promoted as. So if you are a fan of horror and your wallet's a little light, give Fantaruk a try. Alright guys, that's it. That is 5 Nintendo Switch games for $5 or less. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did have a good time, make sure to smash that like button. Let me know if you enjoyed it in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel for all future videos. You could follow me on Twitter at MoreReviewsWTF or hit my Discord in the description below. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you next time.